Welcome to Emmy Knows, interviewing people of interest to the KU campus community. And now, your host of Emmy Knows, Emmeline.
You are listening to the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR. My name is Emmeline, and this is Emmy Knows, a weekly get-to-know you with the people who help make KU great. As you may know, this is my last show of the semester. I want to give a special shout-out and thank you to KUR station manager Mike Riggs for all his support through my time here at KUR. I'd also like to thank all of my lovely listeners and all the support I've had over the past couple of months. Today's guest is Dr. Jennifer Schlegel. She is an associate professor of anthropology here at KU and is also the director of the KU Honors Program.
Thank you again so much for coming on my show. It's my last show at Kutztown, so this is very exciting for me.
How pleased are you about your radio career?
It's very exciting. I'm looking forward to the next chapter, but I'm very excited that you've been on my show today, and I would just like for you to share with our audience what your roles at KU entail as both a professor and director.
Okay, I am the current honors program director, and it's a great thrill and honor and privilege to be in that position because I get to work with some of the most motivated students on campus, and that's fantastic. But I will say that honor students aren't the only motivated students on campus. And so it's really great fun and a joy to be part of a campus where you can find that motivation in the classroom, you can find it in service, you can find it on an athletic field, you can find it in clubs, you can find it all over the place. My other role is I'm an associate professor of anthropology in the Department of Anthropology and Sociology. And that is, of course, my first love and my first hat that I wear. I mean, I'm always an anthropologist. That's the thing about being an anthropologist. It's about making and finding meaning in the world and being human. And that's what we do all the time. So I'm always in the game.
That's very awesome. So how has the university moving to distance learning changed how you do your job?
How has it changed how I do my job? It's made me write more lists. It's made me be open about what my strengths are and what my weaknesses are, and try to find the assistance that I need when I know that I'm not doing as good of a job as I can be. So I'm one of these people, I'm an idea person, and I have ideas, but I don't always know how to get it done. And so I've been asking for a lot of help and going to people who have expertise and say, hey, how do we get this done for the best outcome for the students?
Sure. So what is something new that you've been tasked with due to the change in relation to your position?
I'd say one of the things actually, Emmy, impacts you. And I haven't quite, again, this is something that I haven't done that well, but still working on. And that's how to honor and recognize our graduates from the honors program. So this is my second year in this job. So last year I was able to go through the planning and hosting the honors senior banquet. And we didn't get to do that this year. And trying to come up with alternatives and trying to find ways to recognize our outstanding students has been a challenge. And I want students to know, if nothing else, that their work is valued, their accomplishments are valued, their achievements are valued. And even though we don't get to get all dressed up and eat the fancy food, there are alternative ways to celebrate those accomplishments.
Sure. So you mentioned before you've been dealing with like your strengths and your weaknesses, having to make lists, reach out to people. Is there anything specific that you've been struggling with while transitioning to our new normal?
Oh my gosh, what haven't I struggled with? Well, I should say I have a great team in honors, and And I'm very thankful that they are there because they've helped to keep a lot of things afloat. I struggle with if students don't reply to requests that I've sent out, or even just check-ins. Are you okay? Is there something I can do to help? Are you struggling with progress right now? If students don't reply, I get concerned. And I know in many cases, it's just because they've been inundated with a gazillion emails and they don't need one more email. So trying to figure out how to temper that concern with, okay, no, I need to ratchet this up. I need to start looking for this person and making sure that they're okay. So that's been something, that's been a concern of mine. And I could probably do a better job. And then on the flip side of that is I haven't always been able to respond as quickly and as diligently to student emails or faculty emails or administrative emails as well. So being on both sides of the coin, you know, it's trying to figure out when to turn the concern into action and when to just let it slide.
Sure. So like we've been saying, you are both a director and a professor. Are you teaching classes this semester? And if so, what has that experience been like for you?
So the class I'm teaching this semester is called Hate Across Cultures. So we're studying hate. And it's a class that I've taught off and on 16 years, maybe 14 years, something like that. I can't remember. And it's the class I teach that's most like a seminar where we sit around and we discuss the readings. And it's a reading and writing intensive class. There are no tests. There's just a lot of reading, and I ask the students to please don't highlight a single word, don't underline anything, just read the material, and we'll digest it together in class. So that class, of all the classes I teach, is the least amenable to going online. And the topic is probably the least amenable to going online, because when you're discussing hate, it's important to be able to be face-to-face and read the body language of the student and the other students and their responses to them, because it's about creating part of it is about creating a safe place that people can express what they're thinking and their perspectives in a way that we can negotiate it together. And that's hard to accomplish online. So fortunately, we did have half a semester face-to-face. So with many of the students, we were able to develop a kind of relationship of trust that we could transport online. But yeah, yet the students in that class, I've lost some students from that class, but the students who are in that class who remain have been incredibly engaged with the material, because we've directed it to the COVID-19 crisis. And we've also spent some time and attention looking at how individuals of Asian descent, or perceived to be of Asian descent, are suffering backlash of hate crimes and hate activity. And the anti-Semitic hate is on the rise in related to COVID-19. And so we're really putting into practice what's going on right now. What does it mean when we see these tweets? What does it mean when we hear public officials make some statements? Is it causing dehumanization? And then how do we support people who might feel victimized by some of these activities? So that part's been good. We've been able to take class and put it into practice.
That's very cool. Not the hate crimes part, but it's very cool yeah. that you're able to relate it to current times and sort of adapt with things like that. So are you guys doing like Zoom calls, or is it just sort of a D2L type of thing?
Well, it's been mostly D2L, quite frankly. I do know that I have students in class who do not have consistent access to internet and to D2L. And so I made the decision to go asynchronous with this class. because there's an equity issue if not everybody can attend. So it's been mostly D2L. I've been providing some video lectures and just extra discussions that have been led by honors students. So there are some honors students in the class, and the discussions have been really quite amazing. And Thursdays have been open Zoom hours that people aren't attending. We did have a final one last Thursday, and attendance was okay. And for some, it had been the earliest they had been awake in a couple of weeks. Wow. Another student was coming off an all-nighter. So it's, you know, if I could plan this course to be online, it'd be a different experience. And I appreciate the patience that students have shown with their professors and the patience that professors have shown with their students. I think it's been a mutual collaboration, a joint achievement of patience that has been helpful for everybody.
Definitely. So I want to touch on something that you mentioned during the honors graduate Zoom meeting. So you were talking about how from an anthropological perspective, it's important to mark celebrations and big life events. So would you be able to share your view as an anthropology professor on how these like abrupt life changes, like the online classes, are going to affect communities in the long run?
Oh, that's a fantastic question, Emmy.
Thank you.
Well, here's the deal. So it is important to have rituals to mark change in life status. And commencement is one of these rituals that, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago, students entered KU. And that commencement is the marking of the completion of a transition in a student's experience. So in college, you acquire knowledge and you acquire sense of self and you acquire all these things that you're going to use in the next stage of your life. And commencement marks the end of the old and the beginning of the new. And to not have that ritual and some of its symbols and some of the recognition can leave a hole and feel as though that the transition hasn't really happened. But at the same time, it's not as though people are not marking this spring. So there have been new rituals popping up, or even if it's just the, you know, the yard signs and seeing the support, if it's the video tributes or the Zoom honor ceremonies, people are trying to come up with alternative ways, new rituals. And it'll be interesting to see moving forward if in future commencements or future graduations, we see the incorporation of what people are coming up with this year. And so that from now on, you know, we're really just building on the past and we have that remnant of this year always with us. And I also think for students who are graduating this year, be they high school students, undergraduates, graduate students, there will be a type of community always with the class of 2020. So, you know, Emmy, I don't know where you're going to live 10 years from now, but say, you know, you're walking down the street of Chicago and you stop to get a cup of coffee and you're in line and you hear the person in front of them say, oh, I remember 10 years ago we were trying to graduate and everything was a mess. And you will instantly have a connection with that person. And you'll probably be likely to say, me too. And this is what we did. And I think that type of community that can arise out of conflict, or it's not that this is conflict, community that arises out of, you know, these circumstances that in a sense are traumatic for some people physically, for others socially, that the community that will emerge will be unique to you. Emmy, you're part of something that's never really happened before, at least in anybody's, our lifetimes. And you will be a standard bearer with all of your colleagues in how do we say, I wish we could have honored you appropriately. And you get to say in response, here's what I've done. And that's going to be a really cool thing.
That's awesome. Well, thank you. I appreciate that answer a lot. So speaking of, marking the celebrations, this coming Saturday was supposed to be the commencement. So if you were to give like a message to graduates at KU and, generally everywhere, what would you sort of say to them? I know, the loaded question.
Okay, I at the last day of class, years ago, I used to write the same message on the board on the last day of class. And there's a story to the message. So when young people enter college, probably somebody in their life somewhere along the way said something like, be good, do well, and like be good in college, don't be too naughty, be a little bit naughty, but be good and do well in your classes and study hard. And I think that really does mark a lot of the students' college experience. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to be good people and do well in their classes. And I think when students graduate, we ought to flip it. And this is what I would write on the board. I would write, do good, be well. And it's time to, this is part of that transition to a stage of life where part of, being a citizen in society is doing good things. It's not so much being good in a more juvenile sense, it's doing good as a citizen. And then, of course, be well. Attend to your wellness and your health and your mental health and your physical health and your social health and healthy relationships. And, probably in this pandemic, that idea of doing good and being well was never more appropriate. That if we could all do that a little bit more, we'll get through this. We'll get through it regardless, but we'll get through it in a way perhaps that our hearts can manage, our minds can wrap themselves around, and we can be kind to one another and be community oriented.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much again. And if people want to get into contact with you, how can they do that?
If they want to get into contact with me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So my email is jschlegel. Although my name is Jennifer Schlegel, my email is jschlegel@kutztown.edu. And they could contact the honors program also at honorsprogram@kutztown.edu. How else can they get in touch with me? I'm on Twitter. I'm out there someplace in social media land. But searching through me through KU is a good way to do so. And, as I tell any student who might have a question, I'm available to answer questions. And if I don't know the answer, I know the university well enough in all the positions I've had over the years that I probably can help you find the answer. And that's what I'm here to do.
That's awesome. Well, thank you again so much for being on my last show of the semester.
Oh, Emmy, congratulations to you. Congratulations on all your accomplishments, and shout out to you for completing the honors program so well and in only 4 semesters, and the experiences that you've had and the contributions that you've made. I mean, you're KU family through and through.
Thank you so much.
I can't wait to hear how grad school goes for you and what the future holds.
Thank you.